Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Hart for those of you that are new. And today I'll be breaking down this four-game NBA slate here for Monday night on DraftKings. I'll be talking through some of my favorite plays, kind of breaking down these games, how I see the slate going, who I like, throwing in them into early look player pool. As always, injury news just does change the entire slate. So as always, stay up to date with that. Hit that like button and subscribe, and let's get right into it. So heading on over to the odds here. So we can see the Raptors and Pacers, 6-point spread, 246 game total. So that's a pretty interesting one. Pretty nice high scoring one there. Pistons and the Knicks, 11-point spread, 223.5. Nets, Grizzlies, 1-point spread, 214.5. As you can see, very, very low. And then Heat Kings, 7.5-point spread, 226.5 points. So hopping over here to the first game, Toronto versus Indiana. Obviously a great game environment here. So we do want to target at least a few players from this game if you want to go the more so the optimal route for this slate here tomorrow night. So obviously Scotty Barnes makes for a very good play. He's going to see mid to high 30s minutes. He's been shooting the ball a lot better kind of since the All-Star break there in the past two games. And he has the ability to go off for a double-double, triple-double. So Scotty looks like a very, very strong play there at 8.9 if you're looking for a spend up. If you want to pay down for a guy, Quickly and RJ Barrett are definitely solid here at 7.2K and 7,000. They're kind of the option, 1-2 or 1B, 1C or 2A, 2B, however you want to describe it. But yeah, all three of these guys look very, very solid. I do think I'd rather get down to Quickly if I'm going to play one of these three guys. But if you want to play multiple, it still looks pretty solid. I do have interest here in Podol, but obviously Indiana's not like a huge team. So, they have Miles Turner, but if you get some foul trouble, Indiana could go small, which obviously could limit Podol here. But at the same time, he has massive upside there if he can see the minutes. So I think he's a solid GPP option. Nothing too crazy there for him. Gary Trent Jr. here has been starting. He's been playing well, but with the addition of RJ Barrett back, it takes my interest out of Gary Trent Jr. for me. Moving on to Kelly O here. Looks like he's going to get around the same minutes he's been getting before pretty much all season there when he came from Utah. About 18 to 20 minutes. So he's always been played 4.6, but he's also just more so of a dart throw GPP option. Bruce Brown, same thing. The minutes actually been solid. Can get into the 30s. But yeah, obviously the production lacks there, and offensively he's still like the fourth option. So even though he's pretty cheap at 4.5, it's hard to get to him with any sort of confidence. Moving on to the rest of the team here, not much. They'll spread out minutes amongst Nwora, Grady Dick, Abaji, but nothing too crazy there. I really think you just want to stick with the main three guys, and if you want to get risky, look to Podol, but otherwise, not a lot of interest on the Toronto side for me. Moving on to Indiana here, I still think Tyrese is way too cheap here. His minutes have finally gone up, seeing mid-30s minutes now. We know the upside is massive there with him, so 9.5 is still definitely too cheap for him here in this matchup. Pascal, I think, is just more so a solid contrarian option there for tournaments. Don't think many people are going to get to him just because he's coming in at a weird price, being kind of the second option behind Tyrese. So right now, I do think he's a strong option to get contrarian with. Turner's price has gone all the way up to almost 7,000, which I think it's more so a stay away from me. I think he's a solid GPP play, but as you can see, the minutes have not been great. 31, 28, 23, 29. Guy who gets in foul trouble a lot. Obviously has huge upside, but still 6.9K is just a little bit too risky for me to get to him. If Naismith is good to go, he's there. But if he's out, then we can look to Benedict Mathurin, who should benefit massively there, as he did that last game, 35 minutes, went for 31.5. He'd be another really solid play. If there's no Naismith, now if there is Naismith, I think they'd both be okay plays if you land on them. Nemhard should play solid minutes. He's been productive the past 3. If you land on him, sure. But as you can see, doesn't shoot the ball a ton, so you really need to rely on him doing well playmaking. Otherwise, he's going to hurt you. So I just don't think there's a need to get to him. Jackson, kind of the backup big there off the bench. See around 15-ish minutes. He's always a very productive guy if he stays out of foul trouble in a short amount of times. Kind of like the new, younger version of Chris Boucher, who for the past few years has done the same thing for the Raptors. But yeah, 4.8 for him is just a little bit too risky to take a dart throw like that on, just with the minutes and the production. It is just too pricey for him. TJ McConnell's there, fine. That's really it. Jalen Smith is back. Minutes have been bumped down a little bit to another guy who's productive when he's out there, but not a lot of interest there. It's really kind of just the main guy for me on the Indiana side with Tyrese. Moving on to Detroit here versus the Knicks. Cade Cunningham is coming in at a great price tag here. Minutes have been a little bit down. They have been struggling, but as you can see, he's been really good the past 2 games there. One of those guys who can definitely go out there and shoot 4 of 20 So be prepared to be frustrated when he absolutely crushes your dreams at low ownership and a cheap price tag. But yeah, he looks really, really good there. I do really like Duran. The minutes, not the best, but once again, they've been involved in some blowouts, so it definitely hurts him. Another guy who is decently foul prone, as you can see, they're pretty much getting 3 to 4 a game, which obviously hurts the minutes a little bit. But if he can stay out of foul trouble and get some blocks, I mean, he's massive upside. So I do think he's an interesting GPP option. Rather get to him than Turner. IV 6,000 is very interesting. The minutes have been really solid, and it's nice to see him in the back-to-back games there since the All-Star break to go for 11 and 14 shot attempts. So I like him. Obviously, he's kind of the second option there alongside Cade Cunningham, with Cade kind of being the alpha, but still 6,000 for a guy who should see some solid minutes. I like it, and I actually like Detroit keeping it close. I know it's probably going to turn into like 40-point blowout now that I say that, but I do think Detroit can keep it closer than 11 points here. They've been, a lot more competitive than they were at the beginning, the first 30 games of the season. So I do have some interest in kind of getting into some of these pieces here because they are playing at some decent minutes, like Asar Thompson there. Fonte's been starting and playing good minutes too, as you can see the past 2 games, shooting it well. So he's a fine option there for value at 4.8. Evan Fournier is getting some minutes as well, about 15 to 20 minutes a shooter, but he is a little bit productive as well in other areas like rebounding and assists. So another cheap option. And then Sasser's out, Stewart's out, so that obviously opens up minutes to more minutes to a guy like Duran, but obviously more minutes to a guy like Thompson, Fonte, Fournier. Grimes has been seeing some solid run there, as you can see the past 2 games, past game there, 26 minutes. So it looks like they're going to get him pretty involved there off the bench for the Pistons. So I think it's a very solid option, 3.6. He's pretty solid. Obviously, he's decent at getting assists and rebounds is what I'm trying to say. And if he hits the shots, it's a plus. So I think at 3.6, he's looking like a decent value option, and that's really it. Moving on to the Knicks side here. For the Knicks side, we know they were going to play pretty much an 8-man rotation. Brunson, DiVincenzo, Precious, Hart, Hartenstein, Bogdan, and Burks. And they will throw in a little bit of Sims and McBride, but you really don't have to get down to them. That's just an absolute Hail Mary dart throw. But Brunson looks like a fantastic spin up here in this matchup. He's been just extremely aggressive, playing pretty much the whole game there, as you can see. So he looks like a very, very safe spin up. DiVincenzo, I think, is a great play. He's kind of the second option. Even when he does, poorly, as you can see the past 2 games, 6 to 15, 4 of 12. He's still gone for like 33 and 21. I mean, he's a really, really solid and safe floor right now because of the amount of minutes he's seeing, the amount of usage. So I think he looks really, really strong there at 7.1. Precious has really, really stepped up here. Once again, playing a ton of minutes. The shot attempts are going to vary. If he comes out hot, he could get extended, as you can see there, 8 to 16 against Orlando, 50 bomb, and then he followed it up with 41 bomb. So he does have that upside, but obviously a little bit risky there at 7,000. I think he's a fine play. It's hard to trust the offensive ability with him, but still seeing a ton of minutes. So I don't mind if you land on him. Josh Hart's another very strong option. Pretty much going to be playing the whole game. So it's 6.5K for him. He looks really, really good. And I do like Hartenstein here. I know the minutes haven't been the best because he's coming off of that injury there. So if he's still on a minutes limit, no interest. But if he's off of it, I really, really like him there at 6.1 because he'd see probably mid-30s minutes, and he's usually pretty productive in that amount of time. So that's the caveat there is the injury limit. If there's minutes limit still there, don't have interest. But yeah, right now, Brunson, DiVincenzo, and Hart all look really, really good. And then Bogdan and Burks, I don't mind if you land on them. It's just they're not really seeing a ton of minutes and to pay off their price tags. You want their price tags to drop down probably a couple hundred for Burks in that low 4K range, and then for Bogdan kind of floating around 4.8K because they're just not seeing enough minutes to really pop off there at their price tags. They're just a little bit over too priced. Moving on to Brooklyn here, the third game, Brooklyn versus Memphis. Brooklyn side, they're in shambles. This team is so bad. But the offense, we know where it's going to come from. It's going to come from Bridges, going to come from Cam Thomas. They're going to play the big minutes. They're going to shoot the ball a ton. They haven't been playing well recently, either one of them. Really haven't popped off, so expect them to come out aggressive. I like double stacking both of them because we can see both of them having really good games next to each other. They kind of eat into each other's usage a little bit, but still they do have really solid upside. As you can see, Bridges shot the ball 21 times that last game. Cam Thomas shot at 19, so they're going to get their shots up. So I do really like both of them. I think Claxton's an interesting GPP play. Another one of those guys who stays out of foul trouble and just sees 30-plus minutes. He's usually pretty solid, so I don't mind him. Ben Simmons, back from injury, only played 15 minutes there. I think he got hurt as well. I think he left, so a leg soreness there. Watch that news because if he's out, could open up some value for a guy Maybe like a guy like Wilson who could see more run, what to see. But right now, we're going to assume he's in. Cam Johnson, interesting GPP option. His minutes have really, really suffered recently and lately. Schroeder is playing solid minutes, as you can see. Shot the ball a ton last game. It's just, there's a lot of interesting pieces here, like secondary options. Like, obviously, the main two you want to get to are Bridges and Cam Thomas if you do want to get to some of these guys on this team. And then in terms of like GPPs, and it's just like, sure, you can land in Claxton, Johnson, Schroeder. They're all there, but it's just like you don't feel great about it at all. The minutes have been down for DSJ. DFS has just been brutal. So it's very bad. I'd really just stick with the main two, and the rest of the team is kind of a headache right now. I think there's just better teams to kind of pay up for and maybe spend a little bit more of a even approach, balanced approach with the lineup for tomorrow, unless injury news comes out. Because right now, it's just not good landing on those wild card pieces in the 5K range. It's really just a crapshoot there. Moving on to the Memphis side here, Jaren Jackson Jr., as you can see, he's going to shoot the ball probably 20 plus times if this game stays close. So he looks like a very strong player there at 7.9 if you think this game stays close. Vince Williams here, not shooting the ball a ton, but he's been super, super productive, kind of putting up like Kyle Anderson numbers. So I think he's a strong play at 6.9. Very, very safe play there. Santi as a fine play, as you can see, it's just minutes are a little bit all over the place right now. Not shooting the ball a ton, even though there's a lot of usage to go around. He's just not assuming much of it. Gigi Jackson here is probably the second best option to land on if you're looking for GPP upside besides Jaren Jackson Jr., just because at 4.9K, yeah, he's coming off the bench, but he's seen a lot of minutes and he's very aggressive when he's out there. So I like him a good amount at 4.9 if you're not going to pay up for like a Jaren Jackson Jr. or Vince Williams Jr. Goodwin here has seen good minutes, 29 and 24. This agreed to a two-way contract, so it looks like the 10-day was expected to expire, but they gave him some more security. So, I mean, if he starts, I have a lot of interest in him. What to see with the minutes with him and how they go moving forward. But right now, if he's going to start, a lot of interest in him. Zaire Williams, I think it's an okay play. I don't love the price tag there. Going to be like the fourth, fifth option offensively, so it doesn't look great for him if you do land on him. I'd rather land on Luke Kennard. Whether he starts, comes off the bench, he's going to be aggressive, and he should see at least mid-20s minutes. So I think it's an interesting cheap option there, 4.6, that should have some decent usage. And I will mention Lamar Stevens playing 15-ish minutes. He's actually been productive recently if you're looking for an even cheaper option. And then moving on to the last game here, Miami versus Sacramento. Miami side here, great matchup for them. Obviously, big news here is Terry Rozier is questionable, and so is Tyler Hero. Because obviously, if both of them miss, there's a lot of usage to go around because Jimmy's already out. Bam's flown there by himself. We'd want to load up on at least 2 or 3 of these Miami Heat guys. If let's just say Hero and Rozier are still out, probably going to want to lock in Bam. He's going to have a ton of usage. But then the other people you're going to want to focus on offensively are going to be Caleb Martin, Jaime, and Duncan Robinson. These 3 guys right here are going to be very, very strong options. You have a pivot play would be a guy like Hayward Highsmith, who should see big minutes, and he will be decently aggressive when he's out there. So at 4.6, he could definitely be an option. I don't know if Kevin Love will see solid, like a ton of minutes. Maybe he would still be in that 20-ish minute range, which, as you can see, he can be productive there. Almost went for 40 and 23 that one game with only 8 shot attempts against Milwaukee. So he could be a GPP option. But as you can see, they're missing a lot of guys. Richardson, Jovic, 2 guys who usually play if there's a lot of injuries. So we could see some Jamal Cain, a guy who could be productive when he's out there. As you can see, he's been aggressive recently in games where he does see a ton of minutes, and there's not much to kind of play for, kind of like this team right now. So a lot of interest in this Miami side. Obviously, a lot of news. So hopefully we get it early. If not, the optimal play would probably be building around the fact that there possibly could be no Hero and Rozier. So that's the big news there, the kind of the slate changing news. And then on the Sacramento side, it's kind of the same thing as always. Fox and Sabonis look really, really good. Monk and Murray are already strong GPP options. Murray's been bad recently, but I don't mind buying into him. And if you want to play even riskier, sure, you can land on Barnes, Lyles, and Herter. They're there. But I'd really just stick with the main 4. So that's the that is the slate breakdown. Hope you guys liked the video. Hit that like button. And I'll always, stay updated with that Miami Heat news, kind of the news of the slate.